Most of us start our workday in a state of reaction. We navigate open-plan chaos, answering chat pings mid-sentence, jumping into unplanned meetings, and refreshing our inboxes every 10 minutes. Cal Newport calls this shallow work, the non-cognitively demanding, logistical tasks we perform while distracted. They are easy to replicate, and they give us the illusion of progress without actually creating any real value. You can see the effect in this diagram of an average workday. A recent global study found that a typical person taps, swipes, or clicks their phone over 2,600 times a day. Every one of those tiny interactions shatters that timeline into disconnected fragments. Sustained thought becomes physically impossible. When you spend enough time living in this state of continuous partial attention, you damage your brain's capacity to concentrate. Over time, you lose the ability to focus deeply, becoming a highly reactive victim of your environment.
The antidote to this chaos is deep work, the ability to focus without distraction on a cognitively demanding task. Newport proposes a specific theory about the modern economy called the deep work hypothesis. He argues that the ability to perform deep work is becoming increasingly rare at the exact same historical moment it is becoming increasingly valuable. Thriving in a knowledge economy requires two specific skills. First, you must be able to learn hard things quickly. Second, you must be able to produce at an elite level, both in quality and speed. Neither of those skills can be developed while skimming headlines or multitasking. Deep work is the required economic mechanism to separate average results from extraordinary success. Because the world defaults to distraction, focus has to be actively built. This brings us to Newport's first rule: work deeply. You cannot wait for inspiration. You must architect strict, unyielding rituals into your day. This blueprint maps out a successful deep work ritual. It requires defining 3 elements in advance: a specific location where you work, a rigid schedule for when you work, and clear metrics for what you intend to accomplish. The intersection of these 3 factors creates a protected environment for your flow state. Creating the physical environment is only half the equation. Rule 2 requires you to embrace boredom. To achieve cognitive depth, the human brain has to build a tolerance for stillness. This neural network illustrates the danger. Checking a screen the second you feel restless trains your brain to expect a quick dopamine hit. Every time you pull out your phone in a grocery line, you fray these neural pathways and weaken your mental endurance. You can reverse this through productive meditation. This involves taking a walk without any digital devices and forcing your attention back to a single complex problem every time your mind inevitably wanders. Focus is a muscle. By training it systematically, you transition from a passive consumer of noise to an active creator of high-value work. Filtering out the noise requires Newport's third rule: quit social media. This relies on the craftsman approach to tool selection. You evaluate your digital habits the same way a professional woodworker evaluates the tools in their shop. This scale illustrates the standard you apply. You only adopt a digital tool if its positive impact on your core goals substantially outweighs the negative fragmentation of your attention. Most social apps fail this test. Rule 4 asks you to drain the shallows. You have to identify and actively corral the low-value administrative tasks that quietly consume your schedule. By looking at this time-blocked calendar, you can see the strategy in action. You cap your shallow work, like answering emails and attending status meetings, to no more than 30 or 40% of your week. The rest of the grid is fiercely protected for deep work. Jack Dorsey applied this by designating theme days to manage both Twitter and Square. At Square, he blocked entire days for a single deep focus, like product design or strategy. By removing the constant context switching of crises and meetings, he carved out the thinking space required to build Square's operational systems and innovations. Ruthlessly corralling these shallow tasks is your ultimate defensive strategy. It ensures that your limited cognitive energy is spent on the high-impact problems that actually result in new skills, creative breakthroughs, and a body of work you can be proud of. This process eventually shifts from a tactic you use to an identity you hold. As you track your hours and see that one focus session produces more than a week of frantic multitasking, you stop seeing distractions as minor annoyances. You begin seeing them as thieves of your potential. Amateurs often wait for motivation to strike. Professionals rely on systematic consistency. They treat their environment with respect, locking out interruptions, and scheduling depth like a non-negotiable meeting. During those deep blocks, they engage in deliberate practice. By pushing past comfort and targeting specific weaknesses without distraction, they compound small, daily sessions into massive long-term skill advantages. Operating this way alters your baseline. You experience less anxiety because you aren't reacting to pings. You gain extreme clarity, allowing you to produce elite-level output without the burnout of continuous multitasking. Your best work is waiting for you in that quiet, protected space. Step away from the noise and go find it.